Are you struggling on finding productive areas to catch fish this spring? Then this video is for you. Today I'm going to go over 3 highly productive areas that you can go catch bass at all springtime long, from the pre to the post time period. In this video, I'm going to go over how to fish these areas if you have electronics or if you don't have electronics, if you're in a boat or even if you're in a kayak. Hey, stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss this. The first spot we're going to talk about is creek channel swings. I'm very specific since I put creek in front of channel swings, since we're going to be looking for the front to middle to back half sections of major creeks. It could be a really big size creek depending on your lake, or it can even be a smaller size creek. Like I said, this depends on the body of water that you're fishing, and this also can be for lowland or highland reservoirs. The bass will use these creek channels as highways to go in and out of their spawning areas. And these channel swings on these creeks can be very highly productive areas to catch both numbers and size of fish as well. On these creek channel swings, you're going to be looking for cover and your forage. But before you look for cover and forage, you need to look at where they're located. An easy area for you to look for these channel swings is, of course, rock banks, rock bluffs, but the other areas that these could be at could be up against flats. They can be located on rounded points. They can be located near or at the ends of the long flat points. These are some of the areas that bass will get ganged up in, and if you go find them, you will catch a lot of fish. So before you get to the lake, how do you find these creek channel swings is by looking at a map. You can use a Navionics web app, you can use the Humminbird Fish Smart app, or you can even use a paper map. And that's how I did before I ever got into all the electronics and before we had the phones and the web apps, is by looking at old paper maps, is by following these creek channel ditches and looking for the swings. Now, once you determine the swings and you have them picked out and you get to the lake, then the next thing that you need to do is find out how deep they are and also find out the cover that's nearby. These creek channel ditches can be anywhere from 15 to 30 feet depending on your lake, and you can even catch fish in that 5 to 10 foot zone, or even if the ditch is 2 to 5 foot. Depends on your area of the lake and the section of the creek. The cover that you're going to look for on these channel swings is going to be rock, could be standing timber, can be grass, and then a sneaky one, of course, can be shell beds. There also can be artificial brush piles placed there, homemade brush piles placed there by your local anglers, just depending on where the channel swing is located and the type of cover that is in your lake. After you determine the cover for the area, then you're going to need to determine the type of forage that is there. Is it going to be your bait fish, your shad, your threadfin shad? Or is it going to be crawfish, brim, or even crappie? As you've seen the last 2 Elite Series events, both of the anglers had crappie in the area, and that could have been a forage that the bigger bass are feeding on. What I would do with these creek channel swings, and it depends on the depth. Of course, for your deeper channel swings, let's say it could be anywhere in that 20 to 30 foot zone, I would use my electronics, my 2D sonar, to go idle over these and looking at the cover that we have, and looking for the forage if there is bait fish or crappie in the area. If you are an angler without the 2D electronics, then I would just get there and fish and then throw a bait that can determine the cover in the area. Now, if you have a lot of standing timber, you probably want to throw a bait that's weedless, just so you might not want to go get it hung up and mess it up right away, or even throw a worm or a jig. But if you do have electronics, you can use your forward-facing sonar even to look at the cover and to determine if there are fish in the area. And once again, guys, the depth that you're targeting depends on your section of the lake. Do not think that those channel swings that are in 4 to 5 foot that are up next to a flattened 2 foot will not hold fish. Because believe me, if you find them schools of fish that are right there, you will catch a bunch and your quality size as well. So do not roll out channel swing. Okay, now baits that I'm going to throw at these channel swing areas, of course, there's a lot of variables with it, depending on the lake, depending on the cover, okay? So guys, if it's more of a clear water, highland reservoir lake, and then this goes to the cover. If it's a brush pile, standing timber, if it's a grass lake, all of my baits will determine on what the cover is and the water clarity. If it's at deeper highland reservoir, clear water, standing timber, or jerkbait's an easy target. I love throwing crankbaits. Some people might not want to throw crankbaits at a brush pile or even even at the standing timber, but believe me, it still catches fish. Of course, then also, guys, you have your jigs as well. I do like throwing a Carolina rig, but I will not throw a Carolina rig in brush piles. In your typical that stained water to lowland reservoir, and you start getting in them shallower areas on these channel swings, a shallower crankbait is going to be a good lure of choice. And then also, like I said, the Carolina rig, my Magnum, I love throwing the Magnum shaky head. If there's a type of shell there, shell bed, I will go ahead and get that out as well. Like I said, just depends. My lures for this is going to depend on the situation. I'm not going to just tell you specific lures to throw, so I'll let you determine that on your lake. Now, the next area I want to talk about has been an area that's been highly talked about and has been a part of winning a lot of tournaments in the past couple years, and that is flats. And guys, if a forward-facing sonar is, of course, helped anglers and helped us determine how many fish will get on these flats, but even depending on your lake and your situation, you do not need forward-facing sonar to fish these flats. For me, in lowland reservoirs, some of them stained muddy waters, those flats that are going to be anywhere from 2 to 5 foot will hold a lot of fish this time of year. These flats are going to be located, once again, in your front to back half of creeks. For me, I like to target them in that middle to back half. Why fish use flats, okay? Of course, there could be ditches that are leading on these flats. There could be channel swings like I just talked about. But these flats will have cover, and the cover can be, once again, depending on your lake. Now, for me, lowland reservoirs, I'm going to be looking for stumps. Stumps, logs, and of course, there could be some shell, a depression. These are little pieces of cover that bass will use to either spawn on, or they will use to hold and take cover as bait fish, predators come by. Another piece of cover that can be on these flats can be standing timber. And with the standing timber, if you know how to read standing timber with your eyes, depending on the lake level, once again, the lakes this time of year fluctuate. We know it's the spring, but let's say you can see the standing timber with your eyes. If you see them bigger pieces of wood in sections, as you know, like the Lake Fork has been one that's talked about if you've followed the professionals down there, them bigger pieces of wood, you know, might have a ditch bomb, might have some form of water to make them where they're growing bigger. So then bass will, of course, sit up around the standing timber. Flats, guys, like I said, you can catch fish on flats that are in that 10 to 20 foot range. Some guys, I mean, you go look up north, guys, to where they catch smallmouth at, there'll be 20 to 30 foot flats just looking, and then there'll be a piece of rock it'll have smallmouth on. So such as down here in the south, you find that flat, it doesn't have to be deep though. It could be 2 to 4 foot. Even there's a lowland reservoir in my backyard to where there are certain flats that they will just get on. But also with them flats, there might be, you know, a piece of hydrilla, milfoil, clumps of them. There could be some random depressions, you know, your stumps, as I mentioned earlier. So guys, do not rule out flats. Now, the lures that I throw at these flats, once again, it's going to depend on your lake, but typically for lowland reservoirs like I'm fishing, I mean, it could be topwaters. It could be, of course, I love throwing the bladed jigs at them as well. Now, as I get more into the spring, I might start slowing down. You know, I might start throwing the Senkos, which could be Racky rigged or Texas rigged. Guys, I can also, you know, be flipping creature baits. I like to use my perspective mode on these flats and look at the logs, look at the stumps, and then pitch at them, you know, if I see a fish or if I don't, okay? Just because even if you might not, they could be set up to where, you know, you might not be able to see them with the perspective mode. But guys, if you do not have the electronics, like I said, once again, look at your paper map, look for those flat areas with no contour lines. And then it's even better if you see those little ditches, those little depressions that go up in there, ditches, the drains. And guys, that's just an area to where bait fish will go up on, of course, and the bass are going to go up and follow as well. Don't rule out flats this spring. Now, the next area, and this is an area that's not talked about a lot, and this area totally relates to spring, water's fluctuating, and it depends, even if your lake is not a lake that fluctuates, you still might have this area. And this is one that's not talked about a lot, but I'm going to go ahead and share it with you. And that is your sneaky backwater areas. On both highland reservoirs, lowland reservoirs, rivers, there are areas to where the fish can get in that is very, very hard to get a boat in. Now, of course, if the lake rises, it might make it easier for you to get a boat in. For me, there's a couple of areas around here where there could be a pond that you can get your boat in. There can be, you know, there can be a tree line. All of a sudden that the lake rises up and you get your boat back there, there could be a tree line that these fish can get on. Growing up, there's a couple highland reservoirs that I fished, lowland reservoirs shores I fished to where I knew when that lake got to a certain level, I could sneak my boat in there because them fish are going with it too. The water rises and there's typically cleaner water in these areas. So it's an area these fish like to go and conjugate in. And with that, there could be, you know, your brim's going to be in there. There could be other types of forage it's going. So the bass are going to follow it as well. One thing that this is just makes fishing fun too, because like some of these areas you got to get into, guys, you might have to, you know, to knock some tree lines down, or, you know, or kind of break some limbs to get your boat in there. You're going to get your boat dirty with tree limbs and bugs and stuff, and, you know, and some people might not want to do that. And you're even here, I can just talk of a tournament in just my neck of the woods. It's more north of me, so it's not my neck of the woods. But for example, Lake Darnell in Russellville, Arkansas River. There was an Elite Series tournament there where Mark Menendez might have snuck his boat in an area that other people didn't. And at the time, you know, there's people thought he was crazy, but he got his boat in an area that people couldn't get into, and he won the tournament because of it, because those fish have not been seen. And like I said, the lake I live at, close to me, there's 2 or 3 that there are areas you can get a boat in that, you know, depending on the water level and just the time, just how it all works out. And for you guys that have kayaks, smaller boats, this is your type of fishing. You're probably saying right now, why are you sharing this? Like I said, guys, lures is going to depend on the area and just the habitat. A frog, keep it simple. A frog, Texas rig creature bait, a worm, or then a Cinco. Like I said, keep it simple. There's probably something else you can throw in there too, but nothing better than a frog. And guys, when you're fishing some of these shallow, clear areas, one thing that's very important to consider is having the right sunglasses to be able to see your cover and also potentially see bass. Guys, right here, these are my Waterland sunglasses. This is just their gold lens right here. And guys, the gold lens, what it does is make objects pop more. And this time of the year is very important that if you're fishing them shallow, clear water areas, to having that lens to where you can be able to see potential objects and fish. Now for me, I love that blue lens. I wear the blue lens all year round. My eyes like it. But a couple years ago, I finally listened to a lot of them really good, of course, professional anglers that are, you know, a lot better than me. And them guys talked about the importance of having a brighter lens for this time of year. Hey, and if you're interested in some good, high quality sunglasses at affordable rate, go down in the link below and click on the Waterland link. Like I said, I'll put the link down there. Let you go check out them sunglasses. Do not forget to protect your eyes, and so you can be able to also go out and see objects, cover, catch more fish. Okay guys, if you are enjoying today's video and you're liking the content and you're curious how you can get more content like this, hey, check out our membership option on the Bass Fishing Declassified homepage. Right now, I'm offering 1 extra video a week for members on the channel to where I'm going to go break down sections of lake. They're right now 10-minute videos, 1 a week, to where I pick a lake and I go break them down, how I would go attack them for this time of year. So by becoming a member, you're help supporting the channel and you're getting an extra video a week of me just talking fishing, breaking down a lake, how I would go fish it. Okay guys, hey, we appreciate you watching today's video. Hopefully you learned something today about these 3 highly productive areas to go catch bass at in the spring. Let me know what's your favorite area or an area that you do not fish as much. Like I said, leave me a comment. Let me know if you enjoyed this type of video. I'll make more videos like this from here on. And like I said, just trying to find out some extra type of videos for you guys to see if you enjoy. Once again, thank you, and we'll see you next time.